Good afternoon, everybody. It's a really nice group today. I guess there's some interest in falls. Yes, yes. So today we are happy to welcome Dustin and Cal from Bay State Physical Therapy, and they're going to talk to you all things falls, right? Prevention, hopefully, and yeah. Okay, I'm going to turn it over to you. Just as a reminder always that Walpole Media is here filming. So if you have a question, just raise your hand and Dustin or Cal will bring the microphone over to you or repeat the question. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Debbie. Can everyone hear me well? This is the first time I've ever talked with a microphone in my hand. So it's a little weird for me. I cannot sing. But like Debbie said, one big thing I want you guys to know about today is that it's open for questions because I'm here as a resource for you guys, so I want you to utilize that. If you don't feel like asking a question during the presentation, I'll hang around for a few minutes afterwards and you guys can ask me anything you want to know. Sound good? So clearly on the screen, it says that Christine Towers is supposed to be here. Christine unfortunately could not come with us today because she tested positive for COVID this morning. And she did not want to come here, clearly. So instead today we have Cal, who's one of our rehab aides over at the office. And many of you have already asked me already today, where is our office located? We're the Bay State Physical Therapy in the Rockies Hardware Plaza, or where the Dunkin' is. Yeah, you guys know where the Dunkin' is. Yeah, exactly. Yep, that's right next door too. Yep, and we were formerly Mass Sport and Spine.
Oh, really?
Yes, same office.
I used to go to Mass Sport. I didn't know that they bought.
Yep. We just changed last summer. Yep. I was a student, thankfully, with Mass Sport and Spine a couple winters ago, and they liked me enough that they kept me around.
Good. They're always good.
Still are. So the objectives for today, we're going to go over a few statistics just to paint the picture of what falls are like in the United States for you guys. We're going to go over what causes falls to happen. I'm sure some of you are aware of some of the reasons, but we'll go a little bit more in depth with them. We're going to go over what we do for assessing being at risk for falls, which also includes that piece of paper that we just handed out to you guys with a little quiz. And then we're going to go over the solutions, because that's the important part, right? Right. So before we get started, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Dustin Wilson. I will be officially a full-time physical therapist for a full year next week. I graduated PT school in 2021, and I became a full-time PT November 16th. Thank you. So almost a year in practice. Yep, now it's a doctorate. An extra 3 years of school, and I don't like school that much, so I don't know how I made it. I am from upstate New York, but don't worry, I am a Patriots fan lifelong. More of a fan of Massachusetts than I am New York, don't worry. I went to Springfield College right here in Massachusetts for undergrad, then Sacred Heart University in Connecticut for my doctoral program for PT. Alongside being a physical therapist, I'm also a strength and conditioning coach. So before we start, I have some questions for you guys. Have any of you, and we can do this by a show of hands, have any of you or a known loved one suffered a fall in the last year? And now if you want to keep your hand up, was there an injury resulting from that fall? Yep, and then the last question is, if it was you that fell, did you know what to do once you did fall? And what if no one was around? Yep, that's actually a new one too. Apple Watches actually detect when you guys fall.
And sometimes they just bang on the side.
Yep.
And it says you need help.
Yep, I actually had a patient in our Walpole office. She quickly moved one day, and her Apple Watch thought she fell. I was like, yep, it's a very good tool because it detects something that quick and it can respond for you that immediately. But that's one of the scary parts, not knowing what to do in that situation if it were to happen. And that's partly why we're here as physical therapists, because in that 3 years of extra schooling, we have to learn a thing or two during that time period. And one of those things is literally how to handle falls and teach you how to get up from a fall. So we're well educated in that and equipped to teach you guys those tools. So falls in the United States. Someone mentioned before we got started that it happens almost every day. Well, there's recorded about 7 deaths every hour from falls. Every hour. There are about 30 million falls in the U.S. per year, and the estimated medical cost from that totals over $50 billion. So it's a big financial cost on this nation, too. Adults over 65 years of age, raise your hand if that qualifies you. Some of you didn't raise your hands. Love it. But once you pass this age of 65, if you fall once, your chances of falling again doubles. And the downside to falling one time is, like some of you have already stated, you've suffered injuries from those falls. The likelihood that you suffer a fracture of any sort, specifically a hip fracture, can result in further hospitalization, and that sets you back a little bit. Because it only takes a few days in the hospital of you not moving to get pretty deconditioned and makes things much more difficult. Question?
Dustin, what is it that causes the statistic to double once you've fallen once? What are the reasons behind that?
So he asked, if anyone didn't hear him, what causes that statistic to double once you fall once? Why does it make it so much more likely that you're going to again? It's usually because of the following process of maybe a lack of rehab or a lack of moving after you suffer the fall. It depends on also the reason of the fall. Let's say in one case you fall, get injured, you're stuck in the hospital now for 2 days where you don't move, and that can set you back from a conditioning standpoint. Makes it harder to get up from a chair, get up out of bed, and makes you a little bit weaker. That decrease in strength is kind of what leads to your likelihood for falling again. Because you can decline in strength that quickly in just a matter of days from not moving a lot. Does anyone else have any questions right now at this point? We're good? So that's just to paint the picture a little bit. Another scary possible injury that can occur is head injuries. That's not fun either. And that will set you back even further because that's even more time in bed and possibly further hospital costs as well. So what puts us at risk? There are 2 primary things to look at when thinking about fall risk: the physical and the environmental. We're going to go through each and every one of these variables, but you guys can kind of read through it real quick right now. We're going to talk about all of them. And I want you to start thinking about kind of like what your household setups are like. Is your household well equipped to prevent you from falling? Or is there some risks involved? And then if you look at the physical variables too, you can kind of start self-assessing as well. Do you have any difficulties with any of these tasks? Flexibility, strength, power. Power sounds fun, right? We're going to go into each and every one of those. And because I told you guys that my second job is also a strength coach, it's going to explain the pictures on the next slide. The man is actually 87 years old, and that is 405 pounds, and he actually did lift that up off the ground. Am I expecting any of you to do that? No. Just get yourself up off the ground if you happen to fall. But let's go over these variables, right? The first one, strength. Your ability to get yourself up and move your body through space. Cal's going to demonstrate some examples for us. So one of my favorite examples is something nice and simple. Cal, want to slide the chair over to the middle? So we all have to get up and down from a chair, right? And there's a couple ways we know how to do it. I'm sure all of you may have your strategies if you have issues doing it. The best way to do it in terms of displaying strength would be to not use your hands at all, and you're just going to use your legs. Just like that. Cal's a strong boy. Another option that everyone likes to do is put their hands on their thighs and kind of push up from there. A little bit more assistance, right? And then the most assistance would be using the arms of the chair to help propel yourself up. And now some of you are sitting here without even arms on your chairs. If you needed them, would you have the means of getting up out of the chair? Yes. Beautiful. That was a great example. But if she needed them, she would need then a strategy to get up out of the chair in the absence of the arms. And that's something that we teach heavily in PT. Because if any of you have been to PT before, you've probably been told the whole nose over toes thing. Raise your hand if you've heard that one. It's very important. If you get your nose in front of your toes to stand up from a chair, it's going to make your world so much easier. So much easier. Flexibility and mobility. Can we actually move our bodies through space the way we need to? Can we bend at the hip enough to bend over and get up out of the chair? Bend over and pick something up off the floor? If we don't have that, Cal, you want to demonstrate it again? If Cal can't bend over at the hip as much to pick something up off the ground, he's going to lose his balance. So let's go, bend over and try to pick something up off the floor, Cal. See, Cal's a little flexible. He can move around pretty well. He didn't lose his balance. Now let's pretend Cal can't move at his hip as well. So Cal, go and try to bend over. And then let's say he loses his balance a little bit, leans forward, and he's stumbling right into the front row. And the most obvious one is obviously balance, right? Cal, want to come here again? Turn the face that way for us. So one thing I've noticed with some of you that I've worked with is we love to be on our heels when we stand up from a chair. So if Cal shifts back onto his heels, which way is Cal going to fall? Right into me. Right into me. And I'd be safely there to guard him and make sure he doesn't hit the ground. And then there's also the opposite option where Cal could be too far forward on his toes and he could fall forward. Now, of course, we can also fall side to side, but these are the more common ones. One strategy that we teach in physical therapy is, yes, we want to decrease your likelihood for losing balance front to back. But there's also strategies in case you do it, because we can't guarantee that it's never going to happen. But what's important is that we teach you guys the necessary tools to save yourself if it were to happen. So if Cal were to now fall backwards again, he needs to be able to step with his foot in order to catch himself and establish that base of support underneath him so he's not going to go anywhere. And that's the same case if you were to fall forwards, to the sides, etc. We like to teach you guys the ability to use that stepping strategy to catch yourself. And a part of that strategy is having the power, the next variable, to move your foot out with speed and catch yourself. And these are all things we love to teach you guys and work with you in PT. Now the last two, they kind of go hand in hand. Very important. Medications that you take and medical conditions that you may have. These are things that may need to be screened by your doctor before you attend PT, because there's different things, whether it be your heart, your vision, your ears, your sensory. Like maybe you have numbness in your toes that may make it hard to walk around a little bit. All these things need to be cleared by your doctor to make sure there's not anything underlying that prevents you from being a good PT candidate. And making sure also that what you are dealing with, if you have any balance deficits or you're at risk for a fall, that you are a qualified candidate for us to work with you. So we need that clearance. So that's important to consider as well. There's also a list of medications that can also influence your balance. Have you guys ever stood up a little too quick from your bed or anything and got a little lightheaded? Yep. That's one of those things we need to check off and be aware of, because we need to take that into consideration when working with you as well. So now on to the environment. When we got here nice and early. Cal and I did a little walk around. This place is beautiful. One thing I also noticed is how spaced out everything is. All the surfaces that you're walking around are very non-slippery. The stairs have those little grips on the front of the steps to prevent you guys from having any slips. They're nice and wide too. Everything is nice and spaced out. Now I want you to start thinking about your home environments. Are they similar? Do you have any spot rugs that may be a little bit of a lip that you can catch your toes on? Do you have pets at home? Little pets that run around and can get caught up in your feet? That's something to consider as well. How well lit is your household? Can you see everything at night when you're walking around? Are the lights easily accessible for you if you get up in the middle of the night and you need to move around? All things to consider, right? Shoe wear. Do your shoes have good grip? Are they also fashionable? Because that's important as well. But can you easily get them on and off? Do they have good traction? And are they not going to trip you up if you're walking around your house? All important things. The other thing we can consider is any sort of adaptive equipment. Now that includes maybe grab rails in your shower, a cane, walker, any sort of rails in the hallways, a raised toilet seat, anything that makes moving around a little bit easier. Can we show a hands of if anyone has any of these pieces of devices at home? Oh, beautiful. That's what I like to hear. Is it makes everything easier. And sometimes we don't need to make things harder. And maybe if you go to PT, get a little stronger, you get home and you realize, hey, I don't need this thing anymore. You never know. Anyone have any questions at this point? Still good? Yes. Yes, that's a big one. Scatter rugs. Yep. Yep, look around this facility. Do you see a single one? Nope. They're one of the, I would say one of the biggest tripping hazards there are because they can be a little bit too, yep. Another big one to kind of go off of that is carpeted stairs. I don't even like those. I've taken my fair share of falls downstairs just because they have a carpet going down, and that's not fun.
Why?
Because the carpet is a little bit slipperier than the wood would be. A little bit.
We had our thing carpeted because my husband felt it was better for him.
Really?
Yeah, and he just fell down the stairs.
It's definitely more of a hazard going down the stairs. Because if you hit your heel right at the lip, yep. It's a little bit less friction than the wood is. So it makes it a little bit of a higher risk for you to fall down it. Going up it, probably not as much of an issue, but going down is where the issue lies.
And when you're coming down, like, say you have dark wooden stairs, and the landing is dark wood, that bottom step,
Mm-hmm.
if you have vision problem, you don't know if you're on the landing or still on the step.
Yep. So in case anybody in the back didn't hear her, she was mentioning if your staircase is dark wood, can't see the steps as well, can't see where the landing is, it makes it a little bit harder, especially if you have vision issues. Even I myself have been guilty of, you get to that last step and you think there's one more and then you're, oh.
The same color.
Yep. It'll get the best of us. So prevention. What resources are available? Do we recognize the first picture? Good, because it's here. So option number one is physical therapy. It's us. And in case everybody forgot, we're the office that's located right on Main Street in the Rockies Plaza. The second option, how many of you here take some of the fitness classes that are available to you? Yep. Good. Does anyone want to share which one they take? Ooh, I've heard a lot about the chair yoga one. I've heard, yeah, people are a fan of it. In the back?
I take 2 here, I work out at a gym, and I go to Orange Theory Fitness.
Ooh, there we go. We got a list.
I do Zumba and Sit and Be Fit, and I'm a runner.
There you go. Wish I had that much time in the week. Stationary bike. I'll get there at some point. Stationary bike. Mentioned up front. How many of you have ever used one? Big fan of that. That's going to keep your endurance up. So one thing I wanted to talk to you guys about today is your availability to have these classes here and how beneficial they are. One relationship we've developed over at Bay State is a little bit of a tie to the gym upstairs because the trainers there are very good and they're very equipped to work with you guys. Has anyone here ever been in that gym with any of the trainers? Anyone want to share their experience with it?
What?
Your experience with the trainers upstairs in the gym.
I just started.
Did ya?
I do the treadmill and then I do some of the weight stuff.
How's it been so far for you?
It's been good.
You know, work on your strength, work on your power, work on your balance. They'll hit all those things.
Right.
So it's definitely something that you guys should utilize. Now, if you have any doubts about it before getting into it, PT would be a good place to start. Because we can teach you guys, basically give you the foundation for you to be confident and comfortable, and then in going and doing these classes, or even utilizing one of the personal trainers here. What we would do when you come in for PT is do a little bit of an evaluation. We have our tools that we go through, assess your balance, assess your strength, assess everything else. I'm actually going to make Cal do one of those assessments here in a second. Hopefully he doesn't break a sweat. But then upon your evaluation, we then develop a plan that's personalized to you to address what you need and, more importantly, meet your personal goals, because that's going to be different for everybody. Either it's getting out of the chair easier, going on walks on a daily basis, or participating in anything with your friends in the community. All these are important to you as just as much as they are to us. So, Cal, do you want to bring the chair out front again one more time? So there's 2 tests that I like a lot. Both of them involve standing up and sitting down from a chair, just like before. One of them, which we had to learn in school, it seems so simple, but you have to go to school for it, is a 5-time sit-to-stand test. And what we do is we do this 3 times, 3 whole trials, and we record the amount of time it takes for you to do these sit-to-stands. There's a cutoff score based on a bunch of studies that say, all right, if this person takes this long, they're at a fall risk. If they do it super fast, they're not. So, Cal, stand up and down 5 times, please. So the clock will start as soon as Cal leaves that chair. He has to do a full stand and a full sit. He's moving kind of slow. And now he's going a little faster. Beautiful. I don't think Cal would have hit the cutoff to be a fall risk, but we're not 100% sure. And then the second test is a 30-second sit-to-stand test, where now we have a time frame that we have to work within, and we have to see how many times you stand up and down in that 30 seconds. I'm not going to make Cal do that because that 30 seconds will be a long 30 seconds. You're welcome. But those are very good assessments for us to kind of gauge what your physical capacity is in terms of your conditioning, strength, and your power, as well as your balance. Because as soon as you stand up, we're going to see, do you rock forward or backwards a little bit? We're constantly assessing you as physical therapists.
How many times, what's a good number standing up?
I think a good number is around between 12 to 15.
Up and down in 30 seconds?
It's got her thinking now. She's going to go home and start practicing before. But more importantly, our goal is to teach you guys. That's our role as physical therapists, just as much as it is to push you and make you better. We also want to teach you and make you aware so you can be very self-sufficient in the things that you obtain from PT. And also just improve your overall quality of life, give you more freedom on a day-to-day basis, give you more confidence to go out and do things in the community that you want to do. This is straight from the newsletter for the month of November for this facility. These are all the classes that you guys have available to you. Some of you may recognize them, as you've mentioned that you take some of them. But if you have yet to try any of these classes, I highly encourage you to. And like I said before, if you're nervous about getting into any of them, PT is a great place to start so we can build your confidence up and then transition you into one of these classes. Which one's the favorite up here? Do we have a favorite? I've heard a lot about the chair yoga. Chair yoga is a good one. Is it? Zumba's a good one too.
The drums is good. Anybody wants to try that? It's good.
I've heard about that one too.
What is it?
The drums.
Oh my God, we love the drums.
We love the drums.
That is the best, and it's a workout.
I love it. Does anyone?
Seen it done?
No.
Oh, it's amazing.
Do we need to demonstrate? Do we need to get the drums on here?
The balls up there?
Yeah.
We put those big balls on a, what would you call it?
A black bucket.
A black bucket.
Do you use your hands?
No, we have drum. And she's up there playing music, and we're doing all kinds of stuff.
Guys, I might have to come and do one of these classes with you. Tuesday?
Tuesday,
What time?
1, right?
Tuesday at 1. I expect everyone there.
What is it, 1 or 2?
It's an aerobic workout. It's not just sit down and click the,
Do you stand up too?
I stand up.
Ooh.
But some of the ladies cannot stand up. They
Mhm.
sit on a chair and a different modifier.
I love it. Yeah.
And it's wonderful. You get your heart going, and then also she also makes us do some brain thinking, about.
Oh, that sounds like a lot. I might not come now. Love it.
Drumming is wonderful.
It sounds fun. Sit and be fit as well
Renee.
with Renee.
A lot of weights, a lot of movement, standing or sitting, whatever you can do.
Brilliant. Sounds like you guys have a lot of options. It also sounds like you have a very good community around here too. The chair exercise being one? Beautiful. Sounds like you guys have named most of the stuff up there. Has anyone been upstairs with Steve? Good. So Steve's the one that we have the relationship with over at Bay State, and we set up.
He's trying to get down there.
Is he?
He is, yeah.
Tell you what, we went up and checked out that gym. Kind of jealous of some of the stuff you guys have that we don't even have at our physical therapy clinic. Yep, you guys have a bench. Like, we don't even have a bench. Maybe we need to get one, amongst other things. I know one thing we need at the clinic is a staircase. Been told that. Yep. Yep, a staircase to practice on, because it's not the same as going up and down one step. No. So, yes, good timing.
We're talking about PT evaluation for people. Can anybody come in and have an evaluation, or do you have to have a doctor's note or something?
So it's going to depend on your insurance. I'm 99% sure that in the state of Massachusetts, direct access is a thing to physical therapy. But depending on your insurance, you're more than likely going to need a referral source from your primary care doctor. Yep, especially if it is for any sort of balancing, because we need to make sure that it isn't maybe like a heart thing that's causing your balance, or if there's something else going on that's causing your balance deficit. So then we make sure that you're appropriate for physical therapy. Good question.
I have a question that you haven't seemed to mention. Assume that someone falls.
Mm-hmm.
And assume that, and I would say statistically, you can probably figure out when people fall, are they alone or are they with someone else? Suppose you're alone and you fall, and what is actually the first thing? Do you assess yourself before you move? Do you move as a result of reaction, fear? It's a whole kind of thought process that goes on, which could be absolutely different with everybody we have here.
Yep.
That's sitting here. And is there any kind of thing that says, okay, I fell, maybe I passed out when I fell, and when you wake up, how do you respond?
Mm-hmm.
Actually, I've had that happen. I went off a bicycle in the middle of the street and fell, and I was out, and I woke up
With nobody around you. And
nobody around.
yep.
And that thought process that happens will with all of us will be different.
Yep.
But what should you direct yourself at if that type of thing happens and you're alone?
Yep. That's a fantastic question. So for anyone who didn't hear him, he asked, what do I do if you are to fall and you're by yourself with no one around you? And what he kind of alluded to was, do you calm yourself down? Yes, that is the first step. It's assessing the situation, making sure you're okay. Stay on the ground, see if anything hurts or if anything's severely injured. That's going to be step one. It can be scary once you get to the ground. I've been in an incident before with a patient, actually, where we ended up taking a fall. Totally accidental. Actually, what happened was she was going a little bit faster than she should have been. Because if we go a little bit too fast, sometimes we make mistakes, and next thing we know, we're on the ground. The first thing I did for her was I got down on the ground next to her, made sure she was okay, made sure there wasn't any injury, she didn't hit her head or anything, everything was nice and safe. I then calmed her down and made sure she understood that she was in a safe environment, especially because she was in the PT clinic where we could help her. I then told her, all right, we're going to get up from here. And we spent 10 minutes teaching her how to get up from the ground. Now, granted, I was there, so in a situation where you're alone, you need to have the ability to then get up off the ground on your own. And that's why I brought those papers for you guys today, because it walks you through the steps of being able to get up off the ground. If any of you don't have any device that alerts anything that you have fallen, and you fear that if you could potentially be in a situation where you're alone and you fall, I highly recommend seeking out one of these devices, where it's whether a neck piece, an Apple Watch, which is a little bit more expensive, but any of those alert devices that you can press that can then call on for help. But to go back to the original question, the first thing you definitely want to do is remain calm and just assess yourself for any potential injuries. But a big reason why I wanted to bring those papers for you today was so that you guys have that tool in your toolbox to read over and even maybe practice at home. Can I get up off the ground if need be? So very good question. In the back.
A lot of us have knee problems or back problems like me, and it's hard to get up.
Yep.
And even though the coach tried to teach me that, it, it's still
Mm-hmm.
Plus, if you're outside, you're like, oh my God, everybody's. And you have to get over yourself that way.
I do agree with you. So that's one thing I've encountered as well. Knee problems, back problems. None of us really like being on our knees, do we? All that pressure. So my same patient that I had who ended up falling, she, just in the same situation, had very painful knees, hated being on her knees. My advice to her was 5 seconds on your knees is worth the pain to get up and get off the ground. It's a small sacrifice for a long-term gain, but I know it's not the most fun in the world.
I slipped about 25 years ago in my driveway on the ice going to my car. And I lived in the middle of nowhere. I mean, no one was going, and I could not get off the ice. I hit my head, my arm, broke my foot in 3 places I didn't know it, and my knee. And I lay there, and it was like 20 degrees. And I'm like, I'm going to freeze to death, or I'm going to have to get it something. So I go on the side I didn't fall on after 20 minutes, and I gradually pushed myself all the way to my one step to my house. Thank God my storm door hadn't closed completely.
Yep.
And I put my hand under it, and I got it open, and I sat there for like 15 minutes. On this good side, I got myself in the house, and I grabbed the phone wire and pulled it off the table.
So her case, in case anyone didn't hear, she suffered a fall and she used every ounce of available ability she had to then get herself out of the situation. Physical therapy, or even these exercise classes here, can help reduce your risk for fall, but we don't want to say we're going to ever prevent one, because nothing's guaranteed. But what we can do is give you the tools to then, if you're in the situation where you did fall, do you have the capacity to get yourself up and save yourself, really? And in her case, she did. She had the strength to kind of crawl up, go and find something to pull herself up with. She had the strength available to her, and that's something that we would want to develop in you if you were to come to physical therapy. I think I saw another hand somewhere. Sure.
Okay, so you explained if you fall, but I wanna know, okay, if you fall, you to prevent falling, put your foot down. Well, we're thinking just quick. So let's say you fall.
Mm-hmm.
What is the best way to fall on the ground? Is it like this? Is it with the hands on the ground? I'm hearing stories, and so if you do fall, what is the best way to hold yourself?
You heard stories about what the best way is?
I heard this.
I would not recommend that.
Well, me neither. There was somebody from an EMT who told me that. I said, it's impossible. When you fall, you automatically think fall on your hand. Well, you can break your hand too.
And so if we were to fall on our hands, what can that prevent us from hitting the ground? This is the important thing. So yeah, exactly to your point. Very good question as well. I would say let your hands come out and try to break your fall. And the important thing is you want to keep your head off of the ground at all costs. Because a broken arm, that'll heal up much quicker than anything that happens to your head. Very good question. Thank you for that one. Anybody else have any questions right now? Yep.
One of my friends fell in the parking lot of the restaurant beside CVS here in Walpole Center.
Mm-hmm.
And she broke her kneecap. What happened was she's lucky a car came behind a woman driver, and she pulled so that no car would run over my friend Bev, because she was lying in the middle of the parking lot. She was so afraid that car would run her over, on the ground and run her over, because she couldn't get up because of her broken kneecap. And this woman came and she stopped right behind her, and she called 911 for her.
Perfect situation. Good community to help out. Any other questions? If anyone did have a question and didn't want to raise their hand and ask it, I am going to be hanging out for another 10 minutes or so, and we can answer any questions that you might have. But thank you guys very much for having us. I hope those papers help you out as well. And hopefully maybe someday I'll be back.